Greetings and salutations. If you know I am, great. If you don't know who I am, I'm Suzanne Titkemeyer. I used to write a column called No Longer Quivering for Patheos. Now I write on my Substack, which goes by the name of um, With Strange Fire, which is the name of my upcoming book that I'm still having edited with the world's slowest editor. So anyway, long story short, I am here today because I want to talk a little bit about this administration. Now, I try not to be too political on here. Most everybody who comes in here knows that I am rather liberal on a lot of things. My politics always boil down to making sure everybody has access to medical care and medicine, making sure everybody's fed, making sure that kids get the chance to go to school and learn. People are free to worship whatever they wish. So many different things go into that. I really want what's best for everybody, whatever that looks like to them. As long as it's not illegal or immoral, go for it. So I'm having really bad asthma right now, so I'm only going to take a few minutes of your time. Asthmatic drink. You may or may not know what this is. This is a vial of nebulizer solution. This is something that I end up using a lot when I'm having bad asthma, like right now. It's pretty cheap here. For me to get a box of 10 of these out of pocket on maybe $25. This Combivent. It's the only one that seems to work well for me here consistently. So this is what we go with. So why am I showing my vial and I'm talking about Combivent? Well, because the Trump administration has installed the guy I call Alphabet Boy, RFK Jr., to be the czar of the whole Department of Health. They've put him in place, and he has started to attack this, as in saying that asthma is one of those chronic illnesses that he wants to work on getting a cure or alternative medicine cure, diet and exercise for. Buddy, I got one thing to say to you about the things you're saying about chronic illness. Up yours. Up yours with a giant Magic 8 Ball. Up yours with a giant Diet Coke can. I mean, thing. Up yours with a pair of scissors. That's how angry I am with this guy. He is talking about ending access to mental health drugs, okay? And I'm not down with that either. Any more than I'm down with him deciding that the illness that I struggle with is somehow related to diet and exercise and other stuff. And him saying that he's going to work on it. Now, it would be nice if there was a cure for asthma, but it doesn't seem to be any more than there's a cure for mental health, mental illness. Why people get these things, who knows? I think it's probably genetic. I know this is genetic. I just have too many people in my family history with severely bad allergic asthma that was likely mast cell like I have been diagnosed with. And they didn't get the good care that I got. Most of them were dead by the time they were 35. Only my aunt and I are the only two that have lived with this thing and made it to old age. So, why am I so angry with RFK Jr.? Well, some of the things that he said about health and what he intends to do scare the hell out of me. You know, I'm really lucky. We have really great health insurance. It's the best, the gold standard. And we've really put it to good use this last year, especially when my husband had to have cancer surgery and then the whole fallout with him having a hospital acquired infection that opened his incision up 3 weeks later to the depth of 2 feet, 2 inches into his body. 2 feet? 2 inches. I told you I'm loony on these things. So, those things. happened last year and it was awful. This year, it's just been me and my awful. Can't see it anymore. It's a little thing here, but my entire arm at one point was full of infection. I've got asthma. I've had problems with my back recently. Whole just laundry list of crap. I'm throwing my knee out to whatever. So that's not what I came here to talk about. I came here to talk about how RFK Jr. is talking about dismantling how things are done, dismantling all research. They've already stopped the AMA, the National Institutes of Health, took so many web pages away about rare illnesses that I don't know what he's thinking. I think that he's going to end up putting us all on. Let's all snort kale and rub essential oils into our skin and do whatever else that he thinks is correct. Weightlifting and steroids. Who knows what that looks like? I don't know. But I do know Costa Rica is going to keep letting me have this. So as long as they're letting me have this and the whole laundry list of other crap I take, I'm going to stay here and fight for all of this from here as best I can with my pen and by my vote. I am horrified right now by everything that's happening in the US. I am ashamed for the first time in my life to admit to being an American. There's been times when I've been tempted to talk in Cajun French around here just so nobody would look at me and think I'm an American, but nobody would understand that. I guess I'll have to go back to speaking German. I am so upset right now. My husband is quasi thrilled with all of this because he loves RFK Jr., which I don't understand why he would love Mr. Brainworm, Mr. I put whale heads on my roof of my car and drag dead bears around, weirdness, addict, the whole 9 yards. I don't get it. I don't see how he can think that somebody was addicted to heroin that many years possibly has enough brain cells left to steer the nation's medical care. I just can't. And we're rapidly reaching a place in this household where when my husband starts listening to or talking about politics, I'm just like, knitter, please, no, get away from me, get away from me, get away from me, because we're going to fight. It's reaching that point between the two of us with this thing. So I think I'm just going to have to skedaddle out every time he starts talking about this stuff. RFK Jr., I hope and pray that he pisses Trump off quickly so that Trump, you know, boots him from the job because we've seen Trump do this in his first administration. It was chaos. This is chaos on steroids with authoritarianism thrown in. And there's so many things I could say about Elon Musk and his guys, but I'm not going to say it because that's not even my jam. It's awful. I have nothing to add to the wonderful, smart voices being heard in this world about Elon Musk and his little gang. Um, this is my fight. This is where I'm concerned with him. I dread the next time I have to go back to the States. I actually had a trip that I had tentatively scheduled to go back right now, but guess what? I'm not. Why? Because of the things I'm hearing about are happening to people coming into the country through the borders. US citizens, US passport holders who happen to be writers and other critics of Trump. There have been incidences now where people have been held 6, 7 hours at the border with some vague descriptions of possibly being a human trafficker, being someone who's a terrorist, that sort of silly thing. when it's pretty clear it's not. It's gray-haired grannies that he's holding. It's solid citizens that pay their taxes and do what they're supposed to do. I mean, those are the people that are getting held up at the border, not the Elon Musks who show up just to foment problems. And I can't risk it. During the last administration, because I was writing for Pathos, I used to get the increased security scan every time I went through TSA. Every single time, every single time. Even here, I would get it if I was flying to the US. I would always get pulled into the room, all my shit would be gone through. They would rub the plastic explosive things on everything I owned. I mean, everything. And I would be thoroughly questioned before I'd be allowed to go. It was hard to take those 4 years, very hard to take, because I only had written about Trump once or twice, and one time was just to say, "Hey, let's give this guy a chance and see what he's gonna do on the day he was elected," because no one really knew at that point whether he was just running his mouth like a lot of politicians do, where they make wild promises and they find they're completely unable to fulfill them. Obama, I'm looking at you and your promises to close Gitmo that never came true. So these guys are usually full of hot air. And when Trump was elected, I wasn't as freaked out as I was the first time because I was like, yeah, he is chaotic and largely ineffectual. Ineffectual. He'll be chaotic and largely ineffectual again. It hasn't quite worked out that way. And I don't know about you guys, but I am frightened. This amphetamine doesn't help. It's making it worse. So that's why I haven't been around. Between the asthma and everything else, it's just too much. And I am writing my Substack with Strange Fire that's linked here in my descriptions and things. I encourage you to read that because I'm spilling my thoughts out every day or two. I also have advice about moving to Costa Rica there. I'm starting to do a series here called Breaking Pura Vida. And the way forward looks for me personally in this time is if Trump does what he is threatening to do and make it illegal to criticize Christianity, I'm going to be pulling down my content from my Substack and my personal website with strangefire.com. And I will be just hosting information on how to move here and just general things I've written about culture. Like I wrote about that Kendrick Lamar Super Bowl thing recently because I was confused, but I think it was because the NFL, ESPN here, the volume was all messed up and I couldn't understand one bit of what he was saying, even though I liked his album, Damn. So I wasn't picking up on what was going on quite as much, but um, after I went through and read what everybody was saying, and I went back and heard a YouTube video of a clear audio where I could clearly hear what he was singing, it was all good. I would defend anybody's artistic statement and just about anything they do except for plagiarism. That's my hard line. That's my hard stop. And if you've noticed, certain people no longer talk about me anymore that I was friendly with. I think those friendships have come and gone. I'm not going to tear any of them down here, except if they plagiarize me. Then the boxing gloves come off, and we're doing bare knuckle fighting. But up until that, no. Personally, I think plagiarists are the scum of this earth. That's just me. I know not everybody feels that way about it. Some people are like, oh, it's a homage. It's a homage. Well, guess what? If you copy it, it's not a homage. It's straight up stealing. So here I am ranting and rambling again. This does that too. And I have that tendency anyway. My mind is a terrible little thing that when I let it go, it goes all kinds of different places. And I'm just thrilled that I have enough oxygen today to speak because this has been on my mind. So what I will probably do in the future is if this does become illegal, I'll be pulling down massive amounts of videos on my YouTube channel. In fact, I may even just wipe it, put everything in unavailable status. I'll be doing the same thing on my website, on Substack too, and it'll all be advice on moving to Costa Rica and cultural things. May even share some cooking things. But my criticism of non-denominational, high-demand religious organizations will just go on hiatus. I'm not going to delete anything. I'm just going to remove it temporarily. This is another thing that I'm very upset with Trump about. I'm also livid because of what he's done to federal workers. My husband is a retired federal worker, worked for federal government 30 years, and so many times they wouldn't have budgets for things like paper and pencils. There were times I bought his his office supplies for him because they couldn't get the funding to get office supplies at the Bureau of Labor Statistics where he worked for some years. And it's just ridiculous the things that are being said about federal workers. Elon has said that federal workers have become rich, which is not true. If we were rich, then why was I working a pile of jobs and scrambling for every penny when I had kids in college? There was no getting rich from any of that. In fact, my husband probably took a pay cut working for the federal government. He could have worked as an analysis, as a editor, as a statistician elsewhere in the private sector and made a ton of money, but he did not. He felt a call to work for the government and he did so. So to hear Trump just firing these people left, right, and center, and Elon saying they were becoming rich by being federal workers, I just have to laugh at that. It's the most ridiculous thing ever. They are dismantling the federal government right now in order to turn the entire country into a dictatorship. I live here in Central America and Costa Rica. I see firsthand what happens with dictatorships, with some of the people we have come through running from Venezuela, what's happened in Nicaragua and El Salvador. It's just not good. A dictatorship or a fascist strongman is never a good thing. And Trump has turned very much into a fascist, I believe. And he's manipulating the crap out of his base while he's harming them. That's what kills my mind. I'll be fine. I live here. I can get this stuff. I can get this crap from Germany where they make it. And most of the people in the States are going to see skyrocketing prices because of tariffs. They're not going to do well. With the looming H5N1 virus, the bird flu, and everything else going on, I foresee the groceries and everything is going to get outrageously expensive there. We live in a country that has high tariffs. And let me tell you, it is no fun having to pay so much more for all your stuff because there are tariffs here in place on anything imported. Now, anything they make here or is made in Central America, you can have dirt cheap, cheaper than anything in the States. So it does kind of balance out, but at the same time, it definitely impacts how much money you spend it on what. It impacts so many different things. So to see Trump saddling the people who can least afford it to pay more for their groceries, more for the drugs, more for everything, it just blows my mind and breaks my heart. I just can't. I just can't anymore. It's just gotten so ridiculous that all I can do is just shake my head and stay off the internet because it's definitely turned into a toxic place. even Twitter. And I'm going to dead name it and call it Twitter. I'm going to dead name and name the Gulf of Mexico. I'm going to dead name Denali because I didn't realize he changed it back to Mount McKinley. So many things. And it's hard not to fall into despair at this time. And I know a lot of you guys are feeling it too, particularly when we're seeing what the thought process is towards anyone who has chronic illness or is disabled. This is going to be some rough years, I hate to tell you. Okay, so I've rambled enough, but that's it. That's what I wanted to say. I wanted to talk about the way forward, talk about protesting this asshole. My husband may love the guy, but I don't. All I can do is keep praying. May his days be few and his reach be short because this has gotten ridiculous. I'm not even talking about Trump at this point. Trump is gonna just foment chaos. Talking about RFK Jr. and Elon Musk. The two of them are two of the most ridiculous people I've ever seen. I pray they both piss off Trump quickly and they both get removed. Love you guys. I'll be back at some point once I can breathe again and talk without rambling quite so much. Love you.